Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to Fantasy Forecast for Monday, December 12th, 2016. My name's Mike. I'll be your host. You can follow me on Twitter at MikeMiller78. Let's go ahead and go through the DFS weather for today. Look through the results from 2 days ago. There was not a video posted yesterday, guys. I apologize for that. I thought it was a GPP only day. So if you message me on Twitter, I sent a few people this lineup that wanted it on, but you had to actually ask me for an NBA lineup because I sent out NFL lineups to everyone, and quite honestly, it just sucked. That's why I ran that GPP as well. I won't do a video for a cash lineup unless I feel secure that I'm giving out good information. 313 on the Saturday score. You guys can review that at your leisure. Pause the video and check it out. Let's go ahead and check the 326 up here. This was yesterday, and I thought this was GPP. Briefly, I'll explain my thinking on this, guys. This was not my original lineup. It changed about 5 minutes before lock, maybe 10. We got news that Sergio Rodriguez was going to be ill at the point guard position for Philly. Basically, that DFS is about opportunity, if I haven't explained that very clearly yet, guys. DFS is all about opportunity. All the projection systems you guys are going to find out there, everything, they're trying to project what kind of opportunity this person has against the opponent they have that day. They compare it with their previous performances, and they spit out a number. We all do. That's why Westbrook is solid. The guy will always give you 50, 60, 65 points. He's a good spend up. And that's what you do when value opens up on a slate. And a guy like TJ McConnell, who goes off at 3,500 because he becomes the starter when Rodriguez is ill, and it's announced before lineups lock, you have time to make the change. You lock in a guy like McConnell. Look at the ownership on that, guys, by the way. On a cash game, 58% owned in a cash game. If that tells you anything about how DFS works, you need to be on Basketball Monster. I mean, if you're not watching lineups, or you can't change your lineup in the last hour before lineups lock, you might as well just toss your money away. You might as well just light it on fire. I'm not kidding. TJ McConnell comes in for everyone at the last minute, hits up 12 times value. If you didn't have McConnell, you essentially lost, and if you did have him, you won, because he was so cheap, he allowed you to fit almost any combination you needed. Westbrook to spend up, Lou Williams, because he's been doing awesome for the Lakers. Courtney Lee is some fantasy glue like I talk about. Markieff Morris in a good spot. Marcus Morris, sorry. Robertson turned out to be fantasy glue, but I thought it was an okay spot against Boston. It is what it is. Anthony Davis, a horrible spend up, but still gave you 37 points on the spend up. And that's the point. Porzingis, beautiful, 58. And Okafor came at better than value at 4,900, guys. I mean, that's more than 5.5 times value. You'll take that any night. That runs you a score of 326, which is enough to win quintuples. Yeah, it'll win a quintuple. No problem. 2 for 10. Okay, let's move on to today's 7-game slate. We've had fun with this. You can see the football score was just miserable. Today's upcoming cash game lineup. This is always going to be preliminary for that last hour. I'm going to start doing update videos. They will post probably in the last half an hour if there's an update. If there is no update and you don't see anything in that last half hour, then you start following Twitter instead if you're looking for my lineups, because if it's a half hour or less, I won't have time for YouTube to even process a video and get it uploaded in time. So for those 15-minute changes, I will be tweeting it out and being like, run this change. In the last 5 minutes, you guys all should know, you got to be on your own. In the last 5, no one has a chance to even tweet it back and get it changed up, and be watching Basketball Monster yourself at 3:55 on a 4 o'clock lock, or East Coast 6:55 for the 7 o'clock lock, and you be watching right in those last minutes. You see what's going on, and if you haven't jumped on those last values that popped in the last half an hour, you better consider doing it and quickly, because DFS is about opportunity. That guy, what's his face, McConnell, he isn't going to do that every single night. We all know that. But on the most nights, the reason why it's a great pick is because if you give a guy that normally has 12 to 15 minutes of run, 35 minutes of run, he's going to give you a floor of 20 points, which is a 6x value. McConnell could have done half of what he did, and that still would have been pretty much close to a cash line win. Because a lot of other people had McConnell too, and it would have brought the cashing line down. Not a problem. Take the value along with everyone else and be a smart DFS player. And let's move into the value for today, because this lineup is stars and scrubs, and I'll move into why. Let's look at the games real quick. The games are just a joke today, guys. It's a good schedule. I give the NBA credit that we have 7 games today. That much I do enjoy. But, it'd be nice to have sometimes better matchups. I don't know what to say about that. I guess some people would enjoy them, and you have to have something, but maybe it's the combination of injuries just make me not like it. I'm not sure, but you have a bunch of games at 210 points over under, except for your late games and the obvious standout, the Nets and the Rockets. The Nets and the Rockets are like 230 or something insane on the over under. You're clearly going to target that game even in the blowout, because if you don't have some exposure to the highest over under game of the night, you usually have a losing lineup. It needs to be just a little exposure. And I know most people are going to be thinking Harden. You don't have to go Harden, and I did in this lineup for cash purposes, because if he turns into a Davis or a Westbrook for me today, it's going to be okay for cash purposes. I want that solid, good, man, he's going to give me 50 points today. So I'm okay with taking him in that aspect. But if you think Harden's going to give you an upside to 65 or 70 today, I sincerely doubt it. I mean, I'm taking him and I'm hoping for it, but I don't think it's coming. I think he's just a solid for a 50, maybe 55. So, Charlotte, Indiana, we've got Pacers game is about 210 over under. The Bucks game and the Raptors, that's about a 210. Washington and Miami, that's about a 210. 230 I mentioned. Avoid the Denver-Dallas game in terms of over-under stacking purposes. That stack, no one's really going to be on that tonight. It's a 200 over-under, and sometimes like that third or fourth highest game, right in the middle on a slate like this, stacking that game can be the winning strategy if it goes to like 130 to 125 or something. But, double overtime, that kind of stuff. The real good, lucky stuff that really propels a lineup to a win over everyone else. The intangible factors. Regardless, Denver and Dallas, unless you think they're going to triple overtime, it's probably something you want to avoid. Portland and the Clippers, they're 2 in the teens, better than the earlier games. Same with Lakers and Sac, 2 in the teens. I would not be surprised if you see a lot of lineups today have stacking on more of the later game and even heavier so, and to try to avoid just going with the Nets in Houston, because if you go with the Rockets, they're like 15-point favorites or something. So it could turn out that all the Rockets just sit in the third quarter. And that's why Harden is a risk to just get 50 points. If he only has 30 minutes, that's going to happen. Okay, that's the games for today. Let's go ahead and look at the positions. We can do this briefly today, which is kind of nice. On a 7 game, it's not massive. Wall is your best spend up. And I also want you guys to think, when I go through these things, there's like really 3 options in every slot. You can go with a high dollar, an elite play, you can go with a mid-range play, right in the middle, or you can go with a cheap play or value pick, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter if you call TJ McConnell cheap or value, it's both. Wall, Lillard, Paul, and Lowry, because there's a big old cliff right there before you get to Walker. Walker you can say is a high mid-range, but up to here, it's all their elite options. And Lowry's maybe $100 off your elite pricing of 9,000 plus. But, okay, so let's run through. How good do these guys look today? Miami's not a good position against a point guard today. And Wall had a great performance before. It's more like a ceiling performance. They don't normally ceiling twice in a row. It just statistically doesn't really work out like that. As much as we love the games, but especially when it pairs up with matchups. He doesn't have a great matchup, so I'm passing Wall today. Lillard, again, not a great matchup. I'd probably be passing him again. And every time I say I'm passing all these guys, you have to think with an elite play, no matter what, they still have the ability to ceiling. That can make them under-owned GPPs, because I'm looking at it from an industry perspective, like where a lot of people should be thinking, where they should be going. They're looking at, defensive analysis and things like that. So when I say I wouldn't take these guys today, you guys can always take that person if you know something really offbeat, there's some narrative play, and you just like them. The problem is when you do that for a whole bunch of your lineup, you end up losing. But 1 or 2 is fine. So always take what I'm saying here with just, a grain. Lowry, I would go to Chris Paul if you're going to start spending up at the very high dollars. Go with your third option there. Portland Clippers, 218s game, Same with Lillard, but Lillard is against the Clippers and Clippers against Portland. I would take that any day. And Paul did have a great little, he had like a 62-point fantasy day or something like that. That's a ceiling performance for sure. He's probably going to come down off of that, but if he gave you a nice 50 to round out, as he's coming down, that would still be a wonderful, close to 5x value at the point guard position today, and it'll probably be enough to win you cash, no problem. So I could spend up at Paul today. If that's where the value ends up leading, that's fine. Lowry looks okay. Portland, going back on that, they're just middle of the road against the point guard, so same kind of thing with the Bucks there for Lowry, but probably a little worse though. I would say Lowry's more in line to go to the higher ends of his range today. The problem is I don't think his range ceiling goes high enough. At 45 points, it's barely above 5x. So it would solidify it if you had to drop right there in your elite range pricing. I suppose don't see a problem with rostering it, but I would look out today on that. Walker's the spot I like. Pacers have been bad against the point guard position recently. If you look at league average, it drops a bit, but recently they've been horrible against it. So I would go ahead and just take that spot today. And, every time you throw the team off, you throw Glenn Robinson in. I want Glenn Robinson to do well, but I don't believe that the defense is really going to be there. And you take one piece of defense, that's what Ellis is a little bit better at than his shooting skills. So, and it's only 20 minutes, I know that, but every little bit changes a basketball game. I'd take Walker today, though. No problem. Cheap, too. You're in the mid-pricing. Dragic is a little bit expensive for me. Teague is coming down in price, and I think it's an okay play against Charlotte, but I think it's a GPP pick only. Lynn's definitely playing in that game, the 2:30 game. There's nothing you can say about that. I won't be taking him today. I think you can pass him safely too, but watch me have to eat my words on that. I do think it's a GPP pick. I would actually prefer Williams, though, against Denver. Denver is bad against the point guard position, so I like Williams today. I don't like Russell today until he gives us a nice ceiling performance first, from coming back. His first game back was limited on minutes. He could stay limited on minutes. You don't know what Luke Walton's going to do. He's crazy as hell. With minutes, that is. Not a crazy man. Collison against the Lakers. No one will think of it, except they all will, because they'll see the Lakers and the Nets are horrible against the point guards, so they will think of it, but he just always consistently puts up 22, 23 points. The problem is, guys, he only puts up 22 to 23 points against good and bad teams. So even though the matchup looks sweet today, I'm a passer on Collison today. I would not be buying. Johnson, spend down instead. The value is still somewhat there, even with Richardson coming back. I'm not exactly sure how many minutes he ran in the last game. You guys can look that up. I think it was around 27, something like that. Clarkson, no, pass Clarkson. I would pass Mudiay, pass Nelson, pass Della. The only other choice there that I haven't mentioned is Patrick Beverley, because the Nets are just miserable at the point guard position, just like the Lakers, and that is a matchup, advantage you can exploit. He's great on defense. He's going to give you those extra little peripherals that you need. If he only gets you 10 points, but he can still give you 30 fantasy points out of it with his 2 steals, 2 blocks, 6 boards, 4 assists, something like that. So I don't see much else there super cheap. Value can always open up. We all know that. Let's move on to the shooting guard position today. Now, the shooting guard, let's start cheap. McLemore against the Lakers. This is my first 1%er play today, because no one's going to be on McLemore today. Really, they're not. If you look at his game logs, guys, even when he's had time, this doesn't look good, right? Just came back 21 minutes, 22 minutes, 26 minutes. And went up to 26 minutes, and he still only got 7 fantasy points. Horrible. Look at the opponent. He played Utah. We all know what happens when you go to Utah and play. It's fantasy death. Especially if you're one of these kind of guys. Up in the air, not down. So this is going to be a little iffy, and I'll give you guys an option out of here because I go through the position. There's definitely a way to cut this lineup and compromise, and if you don't like taking this pick, I understand. But he's just come back. He had 9 fantasy points, then he has 20, and then he has 7. Well, look at the opponent when he puts up 20, and that's at minimum price. If you get 20 fantasy points at minimum, it's like I was saying with TJ McConnell, that's your floor. Against the Knicks, okay. He plays Dallas in his other crappy game. I mean, Dallas and the Utah, could you ask for worse opponents for a fantasy guy? Really? Okay, so factor those out and use that as a baseline. Well, now we're getting really speculative though, because we only have the one sample for this season. But 20 points, and then the Lakers, who are the worst against the shooting guard by a mile. I love the Lakers, but they have not learned how to sit 6 to 8 inches back and keep an extra step on everyone. And basically, they start running up as soon as it looks like their guy's going to shoot, and then all they do is just they get a quick assist. Lakers are horrible with giving out assists. And then that guy out there on the wing picks up the shot. There you go. If he picks up the shot and he hits today, this is a beautiful pick. And he's got your minute run that you need at minimum prices. He's still the starter. Now, if he bombs today, I doubt he'll be the starter anymore. But, you can think of that as justification if we could lose. So, this allows us to spend up at Harden. And I didn't really like taking Harden today, guys. I'll be quite honest. Like I said before, I think he's a 50-55 spot today. But what are you going to do when you have the ability to spend up because there is value? And the small forward today position, guys, just sucks. So I don't know what you want to do other than punt it. But you've got Harden, spend it. Alphabet seems to be on a lower streaky of stuff right now. Hey, I want him to do well again before I start to... I mean, you put up a game like in the teens. I mean, what did he do after that? I mean, it was decent, I know, but it wasn't like incredibly... It was 47. So, I mean, it wasn't value at his price. You need 5 times. That's 49. So... And that's the worry. And that was on 41 minutes, too. DeRozan, I like DeRozan a lot better today. That's a good position against the Bucks. That's an excellent GPP pick today. McCollum, I'd be passing. Even though the game's in the teens, I'd just be passing at 7,500. Batum, I love Batum today. I don't think people are going to be on Batum in the industry. The Pacers, like I said, bad against the shooting guard right now. It's okay. We take advantage of recent trends in DFS. That makes sense and that's logical. This is all about money, not about what teams you love and what players you love. This is about making money. Batum, love it. Beal, GPP option only today. Lou Williams, also a great pick today against Sac. You're in a faster paced game, you're in the later game, and he's been just on fire lately. There's no questioning that. Also, right beneath him, and people won't even think of it, Matthews, another great GPP pick today. I wouldn't be shocked if he puts up 35 points today, fantasy-wise, and that is a little over 6 times value. I mean, it's a Dallas guy, and it's the worst game, and that's kind of why I think people might stray off of that. Getting separation, picking a guy that's 1% owned, usually is what can propel your lineups a lot higher than other people's. As long as they do decently. It also lands you near the floor if they don't, but... Barton is steady today. It's fine. It's the worst over-under game. Barton is probably going to give you a nice solid 30 points today. Maybe 28 even. I mean, it's a 5 times value, but I think it's just right there today. Kilpatrick, I think, has more upside. The game just has a better script and over-under. Even with it, if they start to fall behind, Kilpatrick might start to take more threes, and that just might, if he happens to hit a couple of them, DFS is about opportunity. Gordon, same kind of situation. He could get hot the similar way in reverse. I would want Richardson to give me a decent game after coming back. Now, we've seen him do that, and he's at prices where if he gives a 30-point fantasy game, that's a really wonderful value, just 4,600. So you have to consider him for GPP. But outside of that, it's definitely not cash rosterable. No way. Ellington is getting cheaper, but not cheap enough yet. How many times I need to say that? He's too dependent on the 3-point shot. You can call that against the team that gives up the most threes in the league, but not this. I don't see that you need to go cheap at this position. There's just, because I already went cheap in one spot, and there might be a couple things that you can think about, but I don't see coming to, Stuckey might pick up a few of the extra, Ellis's minutes, but I'm not sure if that's a smart way to spend them, because some of these guys get their minutes, but they don't really do a lot with them. McLemore, who I have in shooting guard, basically took over the starting position for Affalo. But if you see what kind of minute run Affalo's been getting, it's been like 2, 3, 4 minutes. So and yes, I know that McLemore's gotten nothing in 2 of his last 3. They wouldn't have ran him for more minutes in the last game, just everything going to crap, unless they actually believed that they're going to give him a little bit of a shot. And they really have an opponent here to see what he could possibly do. I think this is the chance to take a stab on that one. All right, move on to small forward today. Completely punted this position. Paul George, yeah, I like it. Great GPP pick. I like Rudy Gay more for 1,500 less as a GPP pick, and he is scoring dependent against those Lakers, and it's basically going to come down to Cousins, and then Gay, and then McLemore. I think that's pretty much the rotation that I'm looking at right now. So if that's correct, I mean maybe Collison, but I don't think so. So if Gay isn't hitting, that also benefits my McLemore pick. So it's contrarian for me to take it in this lineup. But if I was focusing off of that, I could certainly say looking at Gay, and it's like, hey, Cousins and Gay are just going to take him to the bank today. So he's a definite GPP pick. I mean, the Lakers, you target guys against the Lakers and the Nets. If that hasn't been a clear theme of the season so far, then, make it a theme and, start singing it. I want guys against the Lakers and the Nets. Harrison Barnes is still leading the offense down. The price is right up to a budding point where we're starting to because you need 32 points just to hit value there, and he's been doing that somewhat consistently. He seems to be around the 35 range, but if he duds down just a touch, even consistently, if let's say the range is 32 to 38, you've just met value today, and the game is one of the slower over-unders, so I kind of am fading off of Barnes today. I think it's a solid pick for cash if you need to distribute the money a little bit more evenly. You can still do that, but I think it's really just a 5 times pick today. It's a 32-pointer. Ariza. I like Ariza a lot against the Nets. And the theme is you're going against them, and on top of that, you have the high over-under. The only issue is the blowout, of course. But Ariza starts to be one of those people that starts to be more independent of that. So it's like the last guy of the starters to get the rest, and the first one to, he turns into like a halfway bench, halfway starter. Harkless, maybe. MKG. I think that's a little intriguing against Indy today. I would be looking at that. I think Bogdo's at a price now where you can safely just pass that even in the higher scoring game. Ingram, the minutes are there, the opponent is there, that's a GPP pick. Because now you're getting with the punting place, and I think you really want to be punting. I was looking at Oubre yesterday, or was it the day before, and he did very well on that. I think it was almost a ceiling performance, so I'm leery again taking him again against Miami, but you could consider Oubre because he's getting a nice decent minute run. Same with Hollis Jefferson. The small forward actually is loaded at the cheap end, which is a good thing for us today. It really is. So we have Glenn Robinson, guys. He's getting the start today. That news has already been announced. This is like your TJ McConnell of yesterday, except it was announced 6 hours before instead of 1. People are going to jump on value where there's opportunity. I'd be surprised if you don't see Robinson locked in across maybe 30 to 40% of lineups today. So you really want to get Robinson in your lineup. I have Luol Deng because I wanted to pump the rest of the position out too. And if you look at his minute run lately, I don't know what's going on, even with Russell back, and I don't know where the minutes are kind of getting subtracted out when I look at it, but I know they're not affecting Deng. That much I do know, because he's playing even more minutes. And it's like, I don't know if it feels safe or not, but the guy, if he gets that kind of minute run, he only needs to pay 18.5 points to hit value, and then there's plus side up. So I'd rather just escape the small forward today. There is no obvious superstar stud. Go cheap and move on. So that's where I'm sitting. Deng and Robinson. And, all right, Griffin. I know it says game time decision. It's not. He rested yesterday. It looks like he's definitely going to play. There are people saying he might not play. Maybe he's hurt or something. He's going to play. Griffin will play, and that's going to take Spates out. And I think I said that right. Anyways, Spates comes... the guy is really good. Like I said in the last video, you know, he chucks up threes, and you know he chucks up a lot of shots when he's on the court. He likes to shoot, and they let him shoot. They really want to get some kind of scoring out of him when they're letting him go. And sometimes he gets hots and he gets that run. The thing is, though, he's competing with Blake directly for time. So, you know, it's going to go to Griffin, essentially, for the starter slot. And Griffin's going to get his points. And then Speights will come in. But if Speights don't get enough minutes, you have to worry about what you're paying in terms of what you're going to get back. And he does shoot like that corner three that we've been talking about for some shooters like Ellington. And when he's not hitting, ouch. Ouch. So, I mean, for GPP, Speights looks okay today, again, but especially on the heels of like a 30-something performance. But I would not be looking at him for a cash game today at all. Randall looks interesting against Sack. He does. Look at his minutes and look at the fantasy point production. He does. The price hasn't caught up enough, probably because he's a Laker. Parker, I think Parker can always put up good 40s on you, but it's a GPP pick only today. Booker looks solid. Booker looks solid for at least 30s. That's above 5.5. I like Booker today. Jokic? I don't know how to say that correctly. I'm sure I'm just screwing it up. Anyways, I think he's okay too. I mean, 5,600. Both of those guys look like they could run 30 today. I mean, Dallas is that type of team that is sloppy enough to give up a couple extra boards, and he's probably going to pick them up. So, I don't know. I'd be passing Ferry today. See, this position is a little iffy too. I mean, power forward position is never great on FanDuel. You got to roster two of these guys. On DraftKings, it's a heck of a lot better because you can drop centers in and things like that. But multi-position eligibility changes entire lineups at DraftKings. That's why a $50,000 salary can still score 350 over there. Over here, you need a $60,000 salary to score 350s, 370s, 380s. Speights. McRoberts is not seeming to be, I mean, they're still beat up enough where as long as their other players haven't come back, McRoberts is still in consideration for a good 20-point day. Ooh. Sorry about that. That's twice now. And I think that's about it. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. And I have Markieff Morris there against Miami in this lineup. It works really well for fantasy glue today, guys. Honestly, it does. So I would just consider that. All right, I have 2 minutes left on this video, and then I'm going to run 30 minutes. This is going to be one of the longest ones yet. Sorry about that for a short slate. I guess it's because it was a 2-day absence. It's your center today. Whiteside, I'd be passing because of his negative attitudes. The guy probably only going to put up 40 points today. Brook Lopez gets good in a solid higher game. Jordan, no. Gortat, no. Turner, no. Plumlee, no. Capella, yes. JV, yes. And I mentioned Brook Lopez at the top. If you're going to get cheaper, Zeller, maybe Henson. I'm not so sure on Henson, but I would go Zeller instead. And I wouldn't go any cheaper than that at center today. Okay, let's go ahead and review the cash game lineup real fast. Walker and Beverly at your point guard positions. McLemore and Harden at your shooting guard. Robinson and Deng at your small forwards. Griffin and Morris at your power forwards, and Cousins for your center today. Gotta love the Cousins spot against the Lakers, guys. Number one scorer on the team, probably gonna do awesome. Okay, guys, that's it for Fantasy Forecast for December 12th, 2016, your Monday edition. I want you guys to go out there, go win big money today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.